2025 marks Charles Leclerc's 8th season at the pinnacle of motorsport and his 7th at his dream squad Ferrari, but he's still no closer to that elusive maiden title. The Monegasque is generally agreed to be Formula One's fastest driver over one lap, faster still than his longtime combatant, F1's reigning world champion, Red Bull's Max Verstappen. His stats confirm that, with 27 career pole positions to his name, for 11th on the all-time list, 3rd on the current F1 grid behind Lewis Hamilton and Verstappen, but he has just 8 wins. With 5 of his 8 seasons winless, his best in 2022, when he won 2 of the first 3 races, Bahrain and Australia, as Red Bull struggled, along with Austria, his first win not from pole for 3 that year. Leclerc's shot at more consistent wins have been hurt by the Scuderia's reliable inability to design a consistent F1 frontrunner, which the squad is not making any excuses for.
But it's true that this season it's a bit more difficult, that McLaren is flying. Behind McLaren we are fighting with Mercedes and Red Bull, and they are dominating.
Leclerc has also made mistakes, including this year during qualifying at Silverstone and Baku, hampering his chances. So the focus at Maranello is firmly on 2026, when it's hoped that the red team will again return to the front, usurping its Mercedes-powered rivals. But could the Monegasque leave Ferrari if it fails to deliver? Leclerc is reportedly locked in until 2028, though exit clauses are likely to exist, and he'd be giving away more than $34 million a season. Leclerc said in Azerbaijan he's committed to taking Ferrari back to the top, no matter how long it takes, publicly backing the team. But the frustration must be mounting in private. A failed 2026 challenger, though, could be all it takes for that frustration to finally boil over and another seat sought. Alpine was back on the top of the podium last month, but not in F1, with its sports car squad winning the World Endurance Championship's 6 Hours of Fuji, the Blue Mark's first in the series since 2022. But in F1, things look dire following years of political turmoil. With Alpine 10th and last in the constructors' standings post-Singapore, 26 points behind rival Haas, and no top 10 score since Belgium. With just 6 upgrades on the car since Barcelona, its last at Zandvoort. New Renault CEO Francois Provost says it's committed to stay in F1 for a long time, staving off sale rumors. But it's yet to put in place a serious strategic effort for Alpine's F1 team. On its management front, Flavio Briatore leads as executive advisor, with veteran Steve Nielsen, who has done it all over decades in the sport, its managing director. David Sanchez is technical director. And the Frenchman could be responsible for a strong car next year, with the switch to Mercedes power units likely to provide immediate benefits in energy recovery and deployment. On the driver front, it has French young gun Pierre Gasly, who has been elbows out all season long for points, despite his proven ability for more.
You know, as a competitive athlete, I want to be the best I can. So if I could fight for race win every weekend, that's what I like to do.
In pole position for the second seat is Franco Colapinto, who has gigantic, passionate fan and commercial interest from Argentina supporting him. Across their 12 events together, including Singapore, Colapinto has kept his teammate honest, going 5-7 in both qualifying and the races, but just needs to score points to cement his charge. Alpine has big dreams, but needs to deliver next season. American squad Haas was in action ahead of Singapore, with its testing of previous cars or TPC program at classic Italian track Mugello, where it reunited with its former pilot Romain Grosjean. The Swiss Frenchman last drove a Formula One car at the 2020 Bahrain Grand Prix, racing for Haas, where he endured the fiery crash that ended his F1 career, before jumping the Atlantic Ocean to IndyCar. There were plenty of familiar faces in attendance, including Ferrari's team boss Frédéric Vasseur, whose ART Grand Prix team took Grosjean to the F3 and GP2 Asia titles. The 39-year-old wore a special helmet, one designed by his children, that he was meant to wear at the 2020 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Grosjean got out in less than ideal conditions, with the F1 veteran forced to run Pirelli's full wet tyres, with his former race engineer and now team boss Ayo Komatsu returning to his old role for the occasion. Komatsu isn't the only Japanese influence at Haas, with global auto giant Toyota also in the mix as a technical partner, with whom it shares knowledge, expertise, and resources. Toyota also funded the squad's TPC program, with the first held in August on home soil for the brand at Fuji Speedway, a former host of the Japanese Grand Prix and track it owns. There, Haas ran Ryo Hirakawa and Super Formula's Sho Tsuboi, who is en route to his second straight title this year. Tsuboi was supported in the Fuji garage by F1 veteran Kamui Kobayashi, who has tested Haas's cars, most recently at France's Circuit Paul Ricard. The Fuji test was also a chance for the Japanese to celebrate Haas boss Komatsu, with a long line for autographs when there wasn't running. It's expected that the squad will continue to have more tests with Japan's best and brightest, fueling Toyota's thirst for the pinnacle of motorsport. Singapore doesn't always follow the script, with its tight street track and equatorial conditions combining to test both cars and drivers like no other. And 2025's edition, its 16th running, provided yet another twist, as George Russell cast off Mercedes' heat hoodoo to score a dominant win from pole, his second for the season in Singapore's fastest ever race. Though the bigger headlines were reserved for its customer McLaren, who secured back-to-back constructors' titles for the first time since 1991. Russell finished over 5 seconds ahead of Red Bull's Max Verstappen, who struggled with his gearbox, but kept McLaren's Lando Norris behind him in a straight fight from the Brits' lap 26 stop. Russell was thrilled with his maiden Singapore win, his 5th overall and a 4th from pole position, even if he was perplexed by the stunning pace, with teammate Andrea Kimi Antonelli 5th. "We don't really know where this performance came from," Russell said. Russell's race was won at the start on a drying track, with the Brit shod on mediums, able to fend off Verstappen on used softs into turn 1. Behind, though, saw more controversy from McLaren after Norris got a blinding start from 5th on the grid and made light contact with Verstappen and teammate Oscar Piastri at turn 3 to barge his way with elbows out into 3rd. But while the Australian was not happy, the maneuver could finally signal a new gloves-off approach at McLaren for the final 6 events. "It was a trickier race on my side, but it's something we'll review as a team," Piastri said. Ferrari was again nowhere, with Charles Leclerc 6th and Lewis Hamilton 8th after a penalty for off-track excursions, with neither able to move forward in traffic. And the Monegasque left Singapore downcast. "I wish I could say that I'm positive for the rest of the season. I don't think there's anything in the car at the moment that proves to me that we are going to take a step forward," he said. Aston Martin scored points for the first time since Zandvoort, with 2-time world champion Fernando Alonso 7th, despite a botched 9.2-second stop due to an issue with the right front tire. Haas also scored points for the first time since the Dutch Grand Prix, with Oliver Behrman finishing 9th for his 5th score from the opening 18 races. Williams' Carlos Sainz went from 18th to 10th for the final point. But the focus remains on McLaren. In the drivers' standings, with Norris 22 points adrift of Piastri with 6 races left, having made up points in the last 3 events. Verstappen is 63 points adrift of the Aussie in 3rd. Onto the constructors, and McLaren is again world champion. Mercedes is skipping ahead of Ferrari for 2nd. Red Bull is 4th, scoring with just 1 car. Williams is comfortable in 5th. Thanks for watching. To stay up to speed on all things Formula One, make sure you hit the subscribe button.